So I want you to think about a group activity that you take part in, the way it makes you feel, the people you do it with, why you do it. And I want you to think about what would happen if I told you you couldn't do it anymore. Well, for the people of Sierra Leone, group jogging is a huge part of their identity as a culture. And the government in July told them you aren't allowed to do it anymore. There's a lot of reasons that I'll touch upon about why they aren't allowed to do it. The big one is the fact that they say that these group joggers are associated with the crime that takes place in Sierra Leone, which I will tell you in my speech is not true. A big reason we need to be aware of this is not only because a basic civil human liberty was taken away from the people of Sierra Leone, but as you all know, I'm a big marathoner and I'm a cross-country coach. And in June, Sierra Leone will become my home for 2 years. And so being told that something like jogging I won't be able to do is crazy. So this is the ban that was posted. And basically, like I said, it says crime. Basically that these group joggers are menacing. They're pounding on vehicles and playing loud music. And I will tell you later on in the speech that this is not true. I will tell you that the group jogging ban takes away the fact that jogging and group activity like this fosters a community presence and is positive for the youth of Sierra Leone. That the criminal activity claims in the ban are false, and that it violates both the freedom of speech and the freedom to assemble for the people of Sierra Leone. So basically, it doesn't foster community or is positive for the youth. Group interaction is so beneficial for both youth and community. It develops interpersonal learning and group cohesiveness. It's great for the children of communities. A lot of these group joggers will go and they'll take their kids with them or other youth in the community. And they'll run, and then they'll go to the beach, and they'll play soccer, or they'll have volleyball leagues. A lot of families run and walk with the group joggers, and it really just creates a positive community. You have people like this one man who's a technician. He works on phones and computers, and he runs to lose weight. You have somebody like that who's a positive presence in the community, and then he goes and he runs with kids. He becomes a positive role model for these people. And it takes away crime. We've seen in studies where kids who are put into group activities such as this become not only better students, but better community members. And they grow up to still be good community members, and these people become, politicians and businessmen and women. And it really helps to take criminal behavior out, which, again, there's been no criminal behavior to date from these group joggers, and you'll see that here, that the most popular days for group jogging are Saturdays and Sundays. When the Ebola outbreak happened 2 years ago, all businesses were closed down on Saturdays and Sundays, and that still happens today. So the fact that these group joggers could be snatching phones or causing public unrest is crazy because nobody's out on the streets on these days. There's no shops to go to, there's nothing to do, so why would anybody be out? So they can't be criminals, they can't be participating in any crime. And a lot of, people think, okay, well, the ban is because of the upcoming presidential election next year. As jogging has been a fixture in Sierra Leone forever, it's been a funnel for things such as the win of the current president, Kuroma. He used group joggers, he paid them in cash and alcohol and drugs to go out and shout slogans and do things that promoted his candidacy, and he eventually won. And he's thinking, well, there's candidates for president currently who are participants in the group jogging, and they're, maybe pushing their message on these groups. And he's thinking, okay, well, I did it, they're doing it too. And that's one of, the reasons he thinks, okay, we'll take it away. Another part of this is the fact that in 1991, when Sierra Leone had a civil war, a big part of the uprising, the overthrow of the government, was through the Sierra Leone's armed forces. Now, they have to, like everybody else who jogs in groups, has to apply for a permit to do so. And a lot of people are thinking that the government's trying to stop civil unrest through the armed forces by doing this. But again, there's been no criminal activity associated with these groups. This ban takes away people's basic freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is a fundamental human right. It's acknowledged as a right in Sierra Leone's constitution. Yet Sierra Leone restricts freedom of speech quite often. They have the IMC, which is made up of members of the Sierra Leone media who, as currently as 2015, have banned journalists and thrown them in jail and all these different things that restrict freedom of speech. And as we all know, unified countries have freedom of speech. When you take that freedom away, people not only have no personal thoughts, but they can't, the country can't give way to positive leaders for the future. They don't know, the answers to tough questions and complex arguments. So these new presidential candidates, they aren't free thinkers. They have no idea how to think for themselves because the government has been pushing media on them. And when you take away something like group jogging that gives way to singing, and a lot of these songs that these joggers are singing are songs of revolution and songs of patriotism. When you take all that away, you take away the right for people to have new thoughts and maybe not side with the government on everything. This jogging ban also violates the freedom to assemble. The United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights recognizes the freedom to assemble as a basic civil liberty. They say that everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community. And that's what it comes down to. This right to assemble, this right to jog in groups is basic economic, social, cultural right. The fact that it's been going on in Sierra Leone for generations has made it into a cultural tradition. It's when people say, I'm from Sierra Leone, they self-identify as a jogger most of the time. It's something that makes up their human identity. And when you take away the right for them to facilitate this group jogging and to have that identity and that, culture, you now have people who have no identity. And when you have no identity, you stand with whoever they tell you to stand with. They say, okay, we'll side with the government. Okay, well, I'm going to side with the government because I don't know what my culture is, who I am. And that's what's happening now. These jogging groups have to register with the government. Like I said about the Army has to register with the government to group jog. And by doing so, they have to jump through hoops to get this, permit to jog. And a lot of people just won't do it, and that loses their identity. And people who do apply to jog might be told, no, you're not allowed to. And again, that loses their identity. So, there's many reasons why the people of Sierra Leone should not have to follow this group jogging ban. It takes away their freedom of speech, their freedom to assemble. It takes away, their identity. And it's really, basically the whole ban says, well, group joggers are responsible for crime in Sierra Leone. So that's why we're doing it. When it's evident that these group joggers have not participated in crime. So when you have all this stuff happening, we as Americans have to realize that we can't really do anything to affect the government of Sierra Leone. We can't really do anything to get this ban disbarred, but we can acknowledge that we have a lot of really great civil liberties that our government allows us to have. We have programs that foster a great community and who, help our youth grow up to be great leaders in society. We have laws and rights that allow us to say what we want and assemble when we want. And our government has yet to, go along the lines of saying, well, you group joggers, you're committing a lot of crimes, so we're just going to stop you. And it's something we need to be aware of because the people of Sierra Leone have lost these basic rights, and it's not just, it's not fair, especially when a lot of these are recognized not only by their own government, but by the governments of the world as basic human rights.